The first reviews are in.
First taste of Meghan's jam. Wow, this is the perfect sour jam. It's not too sweet. I don't like my jams too sweet.
Meghan Markle is getting raised for her raspberry jam, but some are criticizing its runny texture. Turns out it's not actually jam.
What if I told you that one of the most famous women in the world just faced a public meltdown over a jar of jam? Meghan Markle's entire brand, built on luxury, exclusivity, and image, came crashing down in a way no one saw coming. And it's not just about the jam. Stick around to find out how a single product exposed everything wrong with her empire and why the aftermath could change her career forever. Meghan Markle's brand was never built on the quality of her products. It was built on the story she told. From her royal exit to her authentic lifestyle empire, every move was calculated to create an image of success and independence. But when the jam scandal broke, it wasn't just about a failed product. It exposed the very foundation of her brand.
James.
I'm not ashamed of the 4.6 Google rating I have.
That's
Go read them.
go read 4.6.
Nothing but 5 stars.
4.6.
No one else in the area's got a higher score.
The illusion that anything with the Meghan Markle label was inherently special. The jam wasn't just a jar of fruit preserves. It was supposed to be a symbol of Meghan's culinary expertise and entrepreneurial spirit. But that was the problem. While other celebrities like Gwyneth Paltrow spent years cultivating niche expertise in wellness, Meghan tried to shortcut her way to credibility. Her brand was about image, not substance. The $35 jar of jam was marketed as an upscale, exclusive product. Yet when critics got a taste, the reviews were harsh. And suddenly, it wasn't just about the jam anymore. The entire empire of carefully crafted perfection came under scrutiny. This wasn't just another failed product launch. It was the unraveling of the Meghan Markle brand. People had bought into the dream. Meghan, the Duchess-turned-entrepreneur who could do no wrong. But when the jam didn't live up to the hype, the illusion shattered. Suddenly, the public started questioning everything they had been sold. Was the success Meghan projected really based on substance, or was it all smoke and mirrors? But then came the unthinkable. Gordon Ramsay, the chef who is known for tearing apart even the finest culinary creations, weighed in.
It was a bit of a worry with the Sussexes coming back, but because we only saw them once and they were obviously at a very different part of sort of like the walk through at St. Paul's, that I don't think there was too much coverage, so nothing really to worry about.
Bit of a mixed reception, though.
And he didn't just critique Meghan's jam, he destroyed it. Ramsay didn't care about her royal status or glossy press releases. He went straight for the heart of the product. His unfiltered review was exactly what Meghan's brand had been avoiding, the cold, hard truth. Ramsay didn't mince words, calling out the jam for its lack of flavor and credibility. The impact of his critique was immediate. Ramsay, a no-nonsense figure in the food world, became an unlikely hero in this story. People started to cheer him on, with some even joking that he had saved consumers from what they were calling gourmet fraud. In fact, his face quickly became synonymous with jam success, photoshopped onto jars with captions like, "Now with actual flavor." But it wasn't just about the jam anymore. Ramsay's blunt honesty had become a symbol of integrity in a world full of brand facades. And if you think that was the end of it, think again. When Ramsay was asked on a late-night show whether he would ever consider making his own jam, his response was simple but powerful. Absolutely, and I'd call it as never. This wasn't just a chef making fun of a bad product. It was a sharp, public dismantling of a celebrity brand that had always relied more on image than substance.
I know they have, and I know that they're kind of making their living over, talking about the royal family. But I do feel sorry for him because I think that there must be a huge part of him.
Ramsay didn't just critique the jam, he exposed the weakness at the core of Meghan's entire empire. And in doing so, he struck a chord with a public who was now questioning everything they had been told about the Meghan Markle brand. And then, the silence. After the jam disaster unfolded, Meghan Markle did what many celebrities do when they're cornered. She disappeared. No Instagram updates, no heartfelt kitchen confessions. No artsy, soft-focus videos of her picking fruit in flowing linen pants.
It tastes of entitlement, greed, avarice and deception.
Just silence. And in the world of social media, silence speaks volumes. While the public and media were left to speculate, her absence became its own statement. Was it damage control? A retreat? Or was it simply a sign that Meghan didn't know how to handle a public failure like this? The lack of a response was telling. It wasn't just a failed product launch. It was an entire brand identity coming undone. For a woman who once thrived on controlling her narrative, not saying anything felt like a retreat, as if even her curated public persona couldn't protect her anymore. Meanwhile, Harry, who had been by her side through every twist and turn, was nowhere to be seen. Some insiders claim he's embarrassed by how the whole jam launch was handled. Others suggest he's distracted by his own legal issues in the UK, trying to stay out of the spotlight. Regardless of the reason, it's clear that the silence spoke louder than any statement they could have made.
Someone helping her, I understand this is the best that they could have done, because I believe Meghan believes she is the one and only incredible, most intelligent woman on the planet. And since she did the TIG, she thinks she knows it all. But
Meghan's empire, which had always leaned on her name, her mystique, and the allure of authenticity, was now looking more fragile than ever. The absence of Harry, the lack of communication, and the growing whispers from insiders only fueled the narrative that something bigger was breaking down. It wasn't just about the jam anymore. The fall of As Ever was now a reflection of a bigger problem, one that no amount of silence could hide. The cracks in the brand were becoming too obvious to ignore, and the public was starting to question everything they had once believed. This wasn't just a failed product, it was a branding disaster, and it threatened to take down the entire Sussex empire. The jam debacle didn't just expose a flawed product, it revealed a much bigger issue. The entire Meghan Markle brand was built on the assumption that her name and image could sell anything. From the very start, Meghan had marketed herself as someone who didn't need the royal family, the media, or any institutional backing to succeed. But the jam scandal showed that the brand she was selling was nothing more than an illusion. This wasn't about just one jar of jam. It was about everything she had tried to build. Meghan had sold the world on the idea that her lifestyle brand would be synonymous with high-end, aspirational products. But when the jam failed to deliver, it made people question her entire brand. How could someone who once claimed her true passion was cooking fail to create something as simple as a good jar of jam? If her passion and expertise couldn't make this work, what could she really offer? The ripple effect was huge. Critics who had once supported her quietly pulled back, and even former allies began to question their association. The Meghan effect, once seen as a powerful force, was now under heavy scrutiny, and it wasn't just about a single failure. The entire Sussex brand was tied to the idea of authenticity, independence, and success. But now, that brand was starting to smell like rotten fruit in a jar. And the more people looked at it, the more they realized that everything about the brand was curated, constructed, and ultimately hollow. Even more damaging were the investors and collaborators who were once lining up to work with her. The fallout from this jam scandal left many rethinking their commitments. If a $35 jar of jam could spark this much backlash, what would happen when Meghan tried to launch something bigger? Skincare? Wellness products? Investors and retailers were already backing away, and the whispers in the industry grew louder. Meghan's carefully built empire was beginning to crumble, and what was left was the cold reality that no amount of branding could fix a flawed product or a fractured trust. As the jam scandal continued to simmer, whispers started to spread about the future of Meghan's As Ever brand. Could this be the end of her lifestyle empire before it ever really began? Sources close to the situation began hinting at a much bigger question. Was she about to walk away from it all? If the jam could bring her this much backlash, what could the future hold for a brand built on luxury, wellness, and culinary expertise? In the aftermath, there was talk that Meghan might shut down As Ever entirely. Not just the jam line, but everything. The teas, the candles, the cookbooks, the entire curated lifestyle she had been quietly building in the shadows. Investors, collaborators, and even potential licensing partners were pulling back. The idea of Meghan's products gracing store shelves had lost its appeal, with one source even saying, "Nobody wants their shelves associated with viral humiliation." Meghan's reputation had taken a hit so severe, even her most devoted followers were starting to question the authenticity of her brand. What had started as a passion project was now seen as a failed attempt at celebrity-driven commerce. And as for her next moves, insiders say Meghan is already plotting her next reinvention. But this time, there's a sense of panic in the air. The carefully curated image of the empowered, independent mogul is no longer enough to carry her through. Rumors suggest that her team is considering a major rebrand, one that might distance her from the luxury world entirely. Could Meghan pivot to a more authentic persona? One that connects with real-life moms, messy kitchens, and humble beginnings? Think less polished perfection, more relatable, messy reality, perhaps even sourdough starter energy. The question is, can she truly reinvent herself once again, or has she already exhausted the public's patience with too many failed attempts at transformation? But here's the real kicker. Meghan's track record of reinvention is starting to feel like a well-worn script. Actress, duchess, victim, entrepreneur, podcaster. Every time she rebrands, the public becomes more skeptical. And this time, with the jam debacle still fresh in everyone's minds, she might have run out of chances to start fresh. The as-ever empire might be on its last legs, and Meghan's next move might be more desperate than anyone realizes. If there's one thing that stings more than the jam disaster, it's the brutal irony of it all. Meghan Markle, who once built a brand around authenticity and personal passion, found herself face-to-face with the harshest truth from the last person anyone expected, Gordon Ramsay. The very chef she tried to impress with her upscale culinary brand was the one who delivered the most unflinching, no-holds-barred critique of her jam. And in doing so, he didn't just reject her product, he exposed the cracks in her entire brand strategy. Meghan's approach to selling herself and her products was all about packaging an image of perfection. Every project, from the podcast to the jam line, was carefully curated, polished, and positioned as an extension of her royal mystique. But when Ramsay called out the jam for its lack of flavor and quality, it was more than a critique of a single product. It was a shot across the bow of the entire empire she had worked so hard to build. His review wasn't just an opinion. It was a wake-up call to the public that no amount of polished PR could hide a subpar product. The irony lies in the fact that Meghan had once tried to tap into Ramsay's sphere, hoping that his endorsement would help her elevate her brand. According to reports, her team had even reached out to Ramsay's people before the launch, hoping to get him on board. But rather than a glowing endorsement, she received what no celebrity ever wants, a brutally honest review from a man who's made a career out of tearing apart the superficial to get to the truth. And let's be clear, Ramsay didn't just critique her jam, he peeled back the layers of the brand itself. He wasn't just calling out bad taste, he was shining a spotlight on Meghan's entire approach to business. The truth he delivered wasn't just about the jam, it was about the false narrative of authenticity she had carefully curated over the years. In one swift moment, Ramsay became the anti-hero in Meghan's story, offering the public what they had been craving: realness, no gloss, and no frills. The real question is this: can Meghan rebuild after being called out by the one person who isn't afraid to speak the truth? And more importantly, can she ever move past the image she spent years perfecting to build something that actually lives up to the hype? What's been exposed through this whole jam disaster is not just a failed product or a tarnished brand. It's the decline of Meghan Markle's once powerful influence. The truth is, her brand had always relied on the soft power of her name, her story, and the image of vulnerability and authenticity she carefully curated. But now, that trust is slipping away, and it's not just about a jar of jam, it's the collapse of everything she had built. Once, Meghan's name was a ticket to success. It carried weight in a world where personal branding meant everything. She could sell a story of independence, resilience, and authenticity that resonated with millions. But after the jam flop, insiders say that the so-called Meghan effect is no longer what it used to be. PR experts have admitted off the record that while she still has plenty of engagement, likes, shares, attention, she's lost the trust and authority that are essential for selling anything premium. She's got engagement but not trust, one expert revealed. Attention but not authority. That's a big problem when you're trying to sell high-end products. Meghan once relied on the soft power of victimhood, her royal exit, and the Duchess mystique to keep her brand afloat. But that soft power is now fraying at the edges. The curated lifestyle she once showcased is starting to feel more like a facade, and the cracks are becoming impossible to ignore. What makes this even worse is that the wellness and lifestyle market, which she tried to break into, has become savvier than ever. Consumers are no longer willing to buy into a polished image without substance behind it. In the age of social media, authenticity is everything, and the wellness space, where consumers are increasingly discerning, has no patience for surface-level branding. Meghan thought her name alone would give her credibility in this space, but Gordon Ramsay's takedown proved otherwise. Now, the brand that once seemed untouchable is facing a crisis of trust. And the truth is, it's hard to recover from that. Meghan's influence, once seen as a powerful tool in building her empire, is no longer enough to guarantee success. As the dust settles on the jam scandal, it's becoming clear that this wasn't just another PR mishap. It was the ultimate reality check for Meghan Markle. The world of celebrity branding can be ruthless, and the jam disaster exposed the harsh truth. No matter how much gloss you put on it, a bad product will always catch up with you. For years, Meghan relied on a carefully constructed narrative that positioned her as someone who could do no wrong, an image that became her currency in the world of luxury goods and celebrity entrepreneurship. But when the jam didn't live up to the hype, it wasn't just a product failure. It was a public unraveling of everything she'd built. What's more devastating for Meghan is that this wasn't some external scandal or media witch hunt. This wasn't about tabloid rumors or accusations from the royal family. No, this was about something simple, a jar of jam. And in its simplicity, the jam became a mirror reflecting the flaws in Meghan's entire branding strategy. It wasn't about royal drama or the press machine. It was about the truth, unfiltered, laid bare for everyone to see. And in this case, the truth was that the carefully polished persona Meghan had worked so hard to create didn't hold up when faced with reality. Now, as the public watches her every move, there's no hiding behind the curated stories and glossy photo shoots. The truth is out there, and it's not just about one failed product. It's about the entire foundation of her brand, and whether it can survive the kind of scrutiny it's now under. Meghan's soft power, the image of grace and authenticity she tried to sell, has taken a hit. The question is, can she recover? Or has the damage already been done? For Meghan, this wasn't just a branding setback. It was a sobering reminder that in today's world, authenticity matters more than ever. Now that the dust has settled on the jam fiasco, the real question remains: can Meghan Markle rebuild her brand after such a public fall from grace? It's easy to see why so many people are wondering whether the damage is permanent. She's faced a lot of scrutiny in the past, but this time, it's different. The jam scandal wasn't just a momentary lapse. It was the breaking point that exposed the cracks in her entire brand. And with every passing day, it seems like the chance for a simple redemption arc is slipping further away. If she wants to bounce back, Meghan will have to do something many thought she was incapable of: embrace humility. The carefully curated image of the glamorous, polished mogul has worked for her in the past, but it's not enough anymore. The public's patience with perfection has worn thin, and they're no longer buying the shiny veneer. If Meghan is going to truly rebuild, she'll need to let go of the facade and show people a side of herself they've never seen before, a side that doesn't rely on her royal status, her celebrity, or her brand affiliations. This is where it gets tricky. Meghan has reinvented herself so many times: actress, duchess, victim, entrepreneur, podcaster, that it's hard for the public to know what's real anymore. Every rebrand feels like a new persona, And with each reinvention, the audience's trust erodes just a little more. What happens when you run out of reinventions? When you've already tried so many times that your audience no longer believes any version of you? The road to rebuilding won't be easy, and it certainly won't be quick. But if she can prove that she's learned from this experience, that she's willing to own her mistakes and approach things with authenticity and transparency, maybe she can regain some of what she's lost. The question is whether the public will give her that chance or if they've already made up their minds. One thing is for certain. So, what comes next for Meghan Markle? After this public disaster, the ball is firmly in her court, and every move from here will be scrutinized like never before. Does she disappear for a while, lick her wounds, and re-emerge with another rebrand? Or will she face the music, own the failure, and try to rebuild her credibility from the ground up? Some insiders suggest that Meghan may attempt a healing rebrand, focusing on a more down-to-earth, relatable persona. Think real-life mom vibes, messy kitchens, and the kind of authenticity that's impossible to fake. It's a shift from her polished, curated image and a move towards a more vulnerable human side that might resonate with her audience. But here's the catch. Meghan's always thrived in the world of controlled perfection. Can she pull off the messy, imperfect realness that today's audience craves? Or will it feel like yet another attempt to fit into a mold she's not built for? The truth is, Meghan's empire has already been rebranded so many times that the public is starting to lose track of what's real and what's just another reinvention. Actress, duchess, victim, entrepreneur, podcaster. Every time she reinvents herself, she risks alienating her audience, who might feel they've seen this story one too many times. What's left when you've exhausted all the first impressions and have nothing new to offer? Can she convince the world that this time she's different? Meanwhile, the media, the public, and the industry are waiting. Paparazzi are circling, hoping to catch a glimpse of her next move. Will she try to spin this disaster into a story of public bullying and gendered hate? Will she release a tearful documentary playing the victim once again? Or will she completely pivot and focus on something entirely new? Perhaps a new project that could repair her reputation? But no matter how she plays it, one thing's for sure, the jam is toast.